$10 a day. That's the price of one coffee. And right now, all over the internet, that $10 comes with a promise. $5,000 a month, hitting your account every single month for the rest of your life, and you never have to work again. Here's the uncomfortable part. That promise is half true and half fantasy, and almost nobody can tell you which half is which. The people who believe the wrong half pour years of money into the wrong investments. The people who understand the real math quietly build something that actually works. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what $10 a day really builds, the trap that shrinks it, and the right order to do this in so it doesn't fall apart. Quick note, I'm not a financial advisor. Everything here is for educational purposes only. For your specific situation, talk to a qualified professional. To show you how this works in real life, meet Hannah. She's 28, she lives in Denver, and she makes $58,000 a year as a marketing coordinator. Every 2 weeks, a paycheck hits her account, and every 2 weeks, it's mostly gone before the next one lands. Hannah doesn't dream about being a billionaire. She has a smaller, sharper dream. She wants work to become optional. Not never work again, just optional. The freedom to say no to a bad boss, to take the job she actually loves even if it pays less, to breathe. So she does what a lot of people do. She types her dream into a search bar, and the internet hands her that same $10 a day fantasy. Good news, the dream underneath it is real. A small daily habit really can build a machine that pays you for life. But the version she's been sold is missing 3 things, and those 3 things are the difference between a real plan and a thumbnail. Because there's a trap most people on Hannah's path fall into, and it's not the one 100 videos warned you about. It's the opposite. The trap, chasing the paycheck too early. So now you know Hannah's goal, but here's the part most people miss, and it changes everything. Hannah's first instinct is the obvious one. If she wants a paycheck from her investments, she should buy things that pay her right now, today. So she goes hunting for the highest yield she can find. Yield is just the percentage a fund pays you back in cash each year, and she finds funds paying 8–9%. Compared to those, the famous S&P 500 looks almost broken. It only pays about 1%. At 28, she's about to load up on high-yield income funds and feel very smart doing it. This is the trap. Here's the myth. High yield equals better income. The bigger the percentage, the faster you get rich. It feels obvious. Here's the truth. Chasing yield in your 20s and 30s quietly shrinks the very machine you're trying to build. Let me show you why with one fund everyone in this space talks about. It's called JEPI, and it pays around 8.5%. JEPI gets that big payout using a strategy called covered calls. In plain English, it sells off some of its future gains for cash today. That's a fair trade if you need income now, but Hannah is 28. She doesn't need the income yet. She needs growth. And when you sell off your future gains, you cap your upside. Look at what that actually cost over the last 5 years. Read it with me. Over 5 years, the whole market returned about 79%. JEPI, the high-income fund, returned about 44%. Same 5 years. The income fund captured a little over half of what the market gave everyone else. That missing growth is gone forever. Now add taxes on top. The cash JEPI pays out is taxed as ordinary income, the same high rate as your paycheck. So every single year, the government takes a bite out of money Hannah didn't even need yet. Money that gets taxed can't compound. This isn't just one fund. SCHD, a popular dividend fund, pays you about 3 times the yield of the S&P 500. And yet, over the last decade, the plain S&P 500 grew more total wealth. More yield, less money. Let that sink in. So if chasing the dividend early is the trap, what actually builds the machine? It comes down to one number nobody puts on a thumbnail. The number that actually builds wealth. So now you know the trap. Here's the number that gets you out of it. It's called total return. Yield is just the cash a fund hands you. Total return is everything, the cash it pays you plus how much the price grows. Think of it like an apple tree. Yield is the apples you pick this season. Total return is the apples plus the tree getting bigger every year. A high-yield fund hands you a lot of apples now, but it stops growing. A growth fund gives you fewer apples and becomes an orchard. Here's the part that breaks people's brains. The S&P 500 pays a tiny 1% yield, but its total return tells a completely different story. Look at the yield column first. SCHD pays about 3.2%. The S&P pays about 1.1%. SCHD looks like the winner. Now look at the total return. The S&P 500 grew about 15.5% a year. SCHD grew about 13%. The fund with the smaller payout built more wealth, 3 times the yield, and it still lost the race. This is the whole game. You don't grow rich on the size of your yield, you grow rich on the size of your total return. And here's the freeing part. Once the pile is big enough, you can flip a switch and turn it into income whenever you want. Hannah doesn't need a fund that pays her at 28. She needs the biggest possible pile by the time work goes optional. So before we build her plan, I want to hear from you. Drop a comment. What's your number? The monthly income that would make work optional for you. I read every single one. Now the real question. Not which high-yield fund, the honest question is how big does $10 a day actually get? And the answer is nothing like the thumbnails. The honest math. Remember the promise? $10 a day becomes $5,000 a month forever. Let's actually run it. $10 a day is $3,665 a year. Over 30 years, here's what it grows into. At 6% a year, $10 a day grows to about $289,000. That safely pays around $840 a month. At 7%, the realistic middle, you reach about $345,000. That's about $1,000 a month. At a strong 8%, you get to about $413,000, paying roughly $1,200 a month. So the machine is real, but the honest answer is about $1,000 to $1,400 a month, not $5,000. The hype was off by triple. And there are 2 things the thumbnail version never tells you. The first one is inflation, and it's brutal. $60,000 today does not buy $60,000 of life in 30 years. Prices keep climbing the whole time. To match $60,000 of today's buying power in 30 years, you'd actually need around $126,000 a year. Inflation doubles the target. Here's the myth. A $5,000 paycheck in 30 years equals $5,000 of freedom. The truth, it feels more like $2,500. Now, the second thing, and this one's actually good news, the amount you invest is the lever you control. Watch what happens when Hannah stretches. $10 a day gets Hannah to about $345,000. $15 a day jumps her to about $517,000. And $20 a day, about $690,000. Doubling the daily habit nearly doubles the freedom. That's the real headline, not a magic fund. The amount you feed the machine and how early you start decide everything. So the machine is real, just smaller and slower than the hype. The last piece is how Hannah turns that growing pile into an actual paycheck. Building Hannah's machine. So now you know the honest math. Here's how Hannah actually builds the thing, in the right order. Step 1. Before she buys anything, she opens the right account. For most people her age, that's a Roth IRA. A Roth IRA is just a bucket where your money grows and comes out completely tax-free later. In 2026, she can put in up to $7,500 a year. $10 a day is about $3,650 a year, so it fits inside that bucket with room to spare. Every dollar of growth, tax-free. That's the foundation. Step 2. Inside that account, in her 20s and 30s, Hannah buys growth, not income. Here's the simple version of her plan. About 60% goes into VTI. That's one fund that holds the entire U.S. stock market. It's the growth engine. About 30% goes into VXUS, international stocks. That's her insurance policy if America has a slow decade. And about 10% into SCHD, that quality dividend fund, as a small tilt toward income she'll lean on later. That's the whole portfolio. If even that feels like too much, there's a one-fund version. A total world fund does all three jobs in a single ticker. Done. Step 3. She automates it. She sets up a $70 transfer every week, and she never has to think about timing the market again. Buying automatically every week is called dollar cost averaging. When prices drop, her money buys more shares. Volatility becomes her friend, not her enemy. And here's the part the hype skips. She does not buy that high-yield income fund at 28. She grows the pile first. Then, only when she's within 5 to 7 years of making work optional, she flips the switch. She shifts some of the pile toward income. That's when funds like SCHD, a bond fund for stability, and a small slice of that income fund inside her Roth start making sense. Growth first, then income. Now watch the cost of waiting, because this is the most expensive mistake in the whole video. If Hannah starts now, $10 a day for 30 years grows to about $345,000. If she waits just 10 years and starts at 38, that same habit only reaches about $150,000. Waiting a single decade costs her around $195,000. She only skipped about $36,000 in contributions. The rest was lost compounding. That's why the most powerful thing you have isn't a fund, it's time. And the only way to waste it is to keep waiting for the perfect moment. You don't buy the paycheck, you build the machine that prints it. So here's where Hannah lands. Not a fantasy of never working, a real growing pile that one day lets her choose. That's the actual dream, and it's reachable. If you know someone who's about to chase high yield in their 20s, send them this video right now. It might save them a decade. And tell me in the comments, are you team grow the pile first, or are you already collecting dividends? I want to know where you stand. If you're building wealth and you actually want to understand what you're doing with your money, subscribe to Dividend Hustle. That's the whole mission here. And next time, I'll show you the 3 accounts to fill in the exact right order, so the IRS takes the smallest possible bite out of everything you build. See you there.